stick with me here. I perished in an unexpected earthquake alongside Clara, who was wildly intimate with me. When the kidnapper brutally struck me down, I shakily dialed Clara's number, begging her to please save me. But from the other end of the line came a man's freezing voice. "So you called to share the good news. If you perish today, that is just absolutely perfect." After dropping that ruthless sentence, the phone was heartlessly disconnected. I closed my eyes in pure, agonizing pain. In my final moments, I thought, if there is a next life, I will never love Clara again. But when I opened my eyes, she was right there straddling me. She leaned right down, playfully tracing my Adam's apple. Her slender fingers tightly gripped my neck, her thumb pressing right against my artery. This intense scene really didn't look like making love at all. It looked like she wanted to actually finish me. I forcefully pushed her away. Clara sat on the bed, her face totally cold, as she asked Tom, "What crazy spell are you under now?" I just didn't have time to pay attention to her. I hurriedly grabbed my phone to check the exact date. I was reborn again, reborn right into the time just after I married Clara. In that moment, my entire mind went completely blank. Before I could even react, Clara's phone loudly rang. A very familiar voice came through. "Clara, when are you coming to pick me up? Didn't you promise to go see the movies with me?" Hearing David's voice, Clara softly coaxed him while immediately standing up to quickly get dressed. "I will be right there." I finally snapped back to reality, tightly grabbing her wrist with a trembling voice. "Clara, just give me 20 minutes. Watch closely, he is finally taking charge." Clara frowned, shaking off my hand. She coldly asked him, "What do you want to do now? You demanded that I sleep with you so I could go see David. I have done it. Are you going to go back on your word?" I took a deep breath. Word by word, I firmly said to Clara I want a divorce. Clara was truly stunned at first. Then she sneered. "Tom, what kind of trick are you playing now? Absolutely no tricks. This time I really want to divorce you." After saying that, I pulled out my phone directly. I typed quickly on the screen, sending a message straight to my lawyer. After sending it, I turned the phone screen toward her so she could clearly read the cold words. "Lawyer, I seriously want a divorce. Draft a divorce agreement for me immediately." Clara stared intently at that bold message. She slightly narrowed her eyes. I looked right at her, looking at this beautiful face I had loved for so many years. It only made me feel completely heartbroken. I had loved Clara since kindergarten, loved her for exactly 20 years. Back then, I was like a stubborn little tail that could never be shaken off, always trailing right behind her. But she never paid any attention to me, always walking ahead with a cold face, not even sparing me a single glance. There were too many boys in school who liked her, and I was just too foolish. I didn't know how to attract her attention. I could only resort to picking silly fights with her. When she was on cleaning duty, I would throw trash in her designated area. When she was giving a serious speech, I would make funny faces from the audience to mess with her. When she played basketball, I would secretly let the air right out of her bike tires. Over time, we became absolutely famous enemies in the whole school. I thought that even if this made her dislike me, at least she wouldn't like anyone else. As long as I could see her every day, I would be perfectly satisfied. But this thought, on the very day David appeared, was completely shattered. I will forever remember that awful rainy day. Here is the pivot we all dread. I came home as usual, only to see my father openly hugging a strange woman. A boy my age stood nearby. That was David. My father excitedly brought this mother and son into our house. Choking back tears, he told my mother this was actually his first love. Back then, he had no means, so they were quickly separated by their families. Now successful, he absolutely had to fulfill this broken dream. Even though she bore a child for another man, he still wanted to divorce my poor mother to marry her. Every word he spoke was resolute, leaving zero room for negotiation. My poor, devastated mother. Because of this, she cried all night. When morning finally came and no one was paying attention, she tragically left this world forever. And less than a week after my mother passed away, my father couldn't wait to happily bring his first love home. Ever since then, I bitterly hated my father. I bitterly hated his first love, and even more bitterly hated my stepbrother David. But I never expected the most painful betrayal was yet to come. That day I went to the library to find Clara, only to see her and David sitting together in a corner. She lovingly leaned on David's shoulder, gently kissing the corner of his lips. At that moment, my entire world collapsed. Later, Clara's grandfather fell seriously ill, forcing Clara to marry me. After getting married, Clara accidentally discovered that I had drawn thousands of sketches of her. Only then did she realize I had secretly loved her for many years, but she was not touched by it at all. On the contrary, she thought I intentionally said those things in front of her grandfather just so he would strictly force her to marry me. You and I both know our marriage simply became a battlefield. Stick with me, Clara lit sky lanterns for David, so I wrecked his rare racing car. She took him on vacation. I made every single hotel in town refuse to host them. In return, Clara threw David a massive birthday bash. I stuffed creepy bugs right into his cake. Finally, we struck a deal. Clara was allowed to go see David. But every single time she visited him, she had to share a room with me first. I smiled and told her, Clara, let us just torment each other like this for the rest of our lives. But secretly, this mutual torment was just me loving her too deeply and refusing to walk away. It took losing my life once to finally realize that some stubborn, obsessive romances simply never get a happy ending no matter what you do. So in this life, I just want to let go completely, Clara. David and all that deep emotional pain will quickly vanish from my world forever. Right then, a sharp-looking lawyer walked in. Mr. and Mrs. Tom, here is the official divorce agreement. The lawyer placed the thick folder on the table. Please review it. Clara knew I used to love her endlessly. She absolutely did not believe that I actually wanted a real divorce. She was arrogantly waiting to see me back down. But who could have guessed? The very next second, I signed my name on the dotted line without hesitation. Watch closely now. Her heart dropped. She instantly snatched the agreement, her eyes frantically scanning the clauses. Tom, are you actually serious? Her voice sounded tight. I turned around the corners of my mouth, curling into a perfectly mocking smile. Absolutely, it is more real than pearls. What is wrong, boss Clara? Can you not bear to let me go? Clara looked like she just heard a pathetic joke. Tom, this marriage is a prison. Every single minute and second with you is pure agony. Then just sign it, I replied softly. What are you waiting for, hearing those words? Clara's face completely froze. She snatched the pen and decisively signed her name on the paper. The sheer force of her grip revealed absolute determination. She coldly tossed the signed agreement right in front of me. Tom, you better remember this. This was your choice. Do not regret it later. The lawyer calmly took the signed document. Speaking professionally, according to local laws, the divorce agreement requires a strict 1-month cooling-off period. When the period expires, both parties officially receive the certificate within 1 month. If you regret this decision, you can cancel at any time. Clara let out a sharp sneer after hearing that rule, looking at me with total disdain. Cancel at any time. So you are just playing the long game. She saw right through my plan, her tone completely certain. Tom, if you actually go through with this divorce in 1 month, I will gladly eat my own words forever. After making that bold claim, she turned and left. Her posture cold and decisive, fully certain I would back down at the very end. I just watched her leave, gently smiling. Clara, you are so wrong. Not only do I want a real divorce in 1 month, I also plan to leave this city and completely vanish from your world forever. You see the shift? Right? For days, I completely ignored absolutely everything happening around me. I stayed home packing my bags while Clara was busy spoiling David. Their incredibly sweet, loving life together was constantly being shown off all over her social media feeds. They walked together along the beach, hugging so sweetly under the glowing sunset, had totally romantic candlelight dinners in a mountain restaurant, made wishes under bright fireworks, walked hand in hand downtown, and picked out stunning dresses for each other. Under every single post, there were countless likes and jealous comments. Sister Clara and David are traveling together again. Why are you two still acting like you are in the honeymoon phase? Flexing your romance on social media every day, I do not even eat real meals anymore. Just watching your sweet romance is enough to keep me full. Someone else is definitely scrolling through social media every day, probably grinding their teeth in pure jealousy. Such a pity they can only drive a cheap car forever and will absolutely never win Sister Clara's heart. I knew Clara intentionally posted all this just to provoke me. Back in my previous life, she completely succeeded. Every time I scrolled past those updates, I was so jealous and totally heartbroken that I lost sleep all night. But now seeing these pictures, my heart feels nothing. Not a single emotional ripple because I had already chosen to let go. Clara and I will very soon never cross paths again. 3 days later, the Clara family hosted their grand family banquet exactly as scheduled. In the past, I would absolutely never attend. But this time around, I went. When I arrived at the grand villa, all the family members were already gathered. The hall was super lively. Clara warmly brought David along, cheerfully greeting the elders. The little kids surrounded them too loudly, calling them uncle and auntie. Both of them smiled. Meanwhile, I just stood watching from afar, a cold trace of mockery in my eyes, because clearly I am Clara's real husband. But aside from Clara's late grandfather, nobody in her family acknowledges my status. They all firmly believe I stole David's rightful place. Trust me, you will love what happens next. They always treated me coldly. In the past, I stayed quiet to avoid trouble. Let us dive into this wild story together. I usually avoid these family parties, but walking in today, I finally saw it. Behind my back, they were already playing Happy Family. I pushed open the massive doors to the hall. Every single head snapped toward the noise. The second they saw me, those smiles completely vanished. Clara's parents glared at me, totally furious. Their voices dripped with absolute disgust. "Did you not say you wanted a divorce? What are you doing here?" David gave me this hilarious smirk, trying way too hard to sound completely sarcastic. Honestly, this is not his first time acting like a total drama queen. It is always all bark and no bite just to beg Clara to take him back. I am so sick of his cheap tricks. He literally never stops playing games. Hearing them, Clara just frowned and glared at me, her voice freezing cold. "We might be waiting on the divorce, but the papers are officially signed. You are not part of this family anymore. You have absolutely zero right to be standing here." All of her relatives threw these disgusted looks, totally agreeing with her. Honestly, if the old master had not forced them, Clara never would have married him. She and David were deeply in love, a total perfect match. He ruined such a perfect relationship. Seriously. Clara never even liked him, and he just loves playing the pathetic victim. His brain is just twisted. Everyone hates him. I stared at Clara's family standing right in front of me, throwing their freezing, completely sarcastic insults. An icy chill ran down my spine. I clenched my fists tight, fighting down the massive storm of emotions, and swept a cold glare over the room. "You guys can drop the act. I am not here for your little family party today. I genuinely do not care. I only came to pay respects to grandfather, light some incense, and leave right away." After hearing that nobody had any excuse to kick me out, they just kept their nasty glares and finally let me walk into the ancestral hall all by myself. After bowing, I pulled out the precious heirloom grandfather gave me on my wedding day. I gently placed it right onto his urn. "Grandfather," my voice was barely a whisper. The words just faded away like I was terrified of disturbing his peaceful rest. "You promised me that if I married Clara, I would finally have someone by my side for the rest of my days." A bitter smile slowly crept onto my face. "But you left out the worst part. Turns out being hurt by the person you love most is way worse than being completely alone. Clara despises me. To her, this marriage is just pure torture. In my past life, I met a truly tragic end. So this time around, I am letting it all go. Do not worry about me. I still have a long road ahead. I promise to live an amazing life now." I stood before his memorial tablet for ages, pouring my heart out. Suddenly, the sharp click of expensive leather shoes echoed behind me. Tapping loudly against the floor, I turned around and caught David marching right toward me. Honestly, I had zero energy for this absolute clown. I stood up to walk away, but David sneered. He reached out and snatched the jade pendant straight off the urn. Now watch this closely because things get wild. David grabs the family memorial tablet and violently slams it onto the floor, completely shattering the sacred wood. My veins practically turned to ice. I lunged forward and locked my grip onto David's wrist. "Are you insane right now? Apologize to grandfather." David violently ripped his hand away, a wicked smile spreading across his face. "Apologize to who exactly? Does this useless old man deserve it if he had not interfered? The top spot would be mine by now, David." My voice shook with rage. Clara respects her grandfather deeply. If she saw this, she would realize how blind she really is. Despite my warning, David showed absolutely zero regret. Instead, he just looked incredibly proud of himself. "Oh, really now you actually care about this pathetic old guy? Clara does not care about you at all. Tom, you are exactly like your mom. Completely pathetic and utterly pitiful. You might as well just disappear forever. Your mom must be so incredibly disappointed waiting up there for you. You feel that fury too, right?" Every single word was like boiling oil hitting my chest, making my rage absolutely explode, especially the second he dared to insult my mom. I completely snapped. I pulled my arm back and delivered a devastating punch straight to his jaw. That smug smirk completely vanished. He never expected me to actually throw hands. This spoiled brat had never faced this kind of intense humiliation before. He was so furious his face went pale, acting completely insane. He charged right at me, grabbing my tie, and we locked into a messy brawl. But he is a spoiled softy. He stood absolutely zero chance against me. Every single time he tried to swing, I slammed him right back onto the floor. David was losing his mind with absolute rage. He totally lost it. He grabbed the grandfather's urn and slammed it right onto my head. Instantly, my vision faded. I collapsed heavily into the scattered ashes, the pain absolutely blinding. So what do you think happens next? Trust me, payback is coming. Trust me, we are about to witness the wildest payback story. Right now, I am lying on these cold stones, screaming in unimaginable agony. That massive heart-wrenching uproar instantly drew everyone into the hall. Spotting the shattered urn and broken family tablet, everyone looked completely shocked. Clara glared down, her expression turning as dark as a raging storm. She stared with pure ice. "Tom, what kind of chaotic mess are you causing now? This is the ancestral hall. Is this how you respect grandfather?" I was in so much intense agony, I could not even manage to speak. Meanwhile, David faked being completely innocent, quickly speaking up to falsely frame me. "Clara, I just thought his jade pendant was gorgeous and only wanted a quick look, but he instantly raised his fist and punched me hard. I only wanted to defend myself. He grabbed the urn and grandfather's tablet to strike me. I tried dodging and just pushed him away. Who knew he would actually fall over? After hearing his completely twisted lies, Clara's entire family stared me down, their furious glares, feeling like literal daggers ready to cut me into pieces. Within seconds, everyone started loudly cursing and harshly condemning my actions. Some relatives demanded the harsh family discipline to punish me for this absolute disaster. Without hesitating, Clara raised her hand and signaled the loyal servants. They instantly dragged out the heavy family whip coated in burning oil, creating a massive disturbance throughout the ancestral hall. That is his first offense. Smashing an elder's tablet and urn counts as the unforgivable second offense. Attacking a guest equals 3. Watch closely, her verdict brings down a truly brutal punishment. "Clara," I jerked my head up, eyes burning with absolute rage. "You did not ask before cutting me off completely." The first heavy lash slammed down violently, striking my back and silencing my desperate words. I shook from the intense agony but stubbornly gritted my teeth together. David clearly threw the first punch. Immediately, the second vicious lash dropped. I fought hard to stand, but 2 massive guards forcefully pinned my shoulders down. With tearful eyes, I screamed out, "Clara, are you completely blind?" He started this. The enforcer loudly shouted 30 lashes. The whip slashed down, biting into my back exactly like a vicious, venomous snake. Dark crimson stains quickly soaked right through my clothes. I grew incredibly dizzy from the agony, yet stubbornly kept my head raised, staring at Clara. Clara was just gently adjusting David's tie, treating him carefully like he was an absolute priceless treasure. Watching that destroyed me worse than the brutal physical lashes, forcing a horrible, bitter taste to rise in my throat. The final heavy strike landed. My limits broke, and I collapsed hard onto the floor. Right before completely fading out, Clara's freezing voice echoed, "Toss him outside, do not stain the ancestral floor." Blinking my eyes open later, I woke up alone on a freezing villa bed, completely swallowed by an eerie, heavy silence. The scorching agony radiating across my back proved those 60 brutal lashes were definitely not just a nightmare. It was a horrific punishment personally ordered by Clara herself. I weakly twitched my lips, trying to sit up, but accidentally aggravated the terrible injury. A sharp gasp escaped me, my eyes tearing up. You feel that, right? 12 years of love, and I am forced to shakily bandage my injuries alone. As the harsh medical supplies stung my deep cuts, I fiercely bit my lip. Even though my insides were completely tearing apart, I absolutely refused to cry out in pain. After finally finishing the painful treatment, heavy sweat completely soaked my clothes, leaving massive dark stains across the white bedsheets. For an entire week afterward, I basically felt like a lifeless ghost trapped in bed. The severe gashes on my back had barely started scabbing. One slight movement would rip them open again. And during this awful time, Clara never visited me once. Meanwhile, toxic messages from David kept arriving like a vicious snake spitting pure poison. He bragged Clara took me to an exclusive auction today. She spent a massive fortune to buy me the ultimate diamond watch. Just look, is the design not gorgeous? In 2 days, it is our 6-year anniversary. She arranged an exclusive yacht party to celebrate us. Not only that, but she personally designed a stunning pair of matching rings just to gift me. Keeping my face totally blank, I deleted every message. Quietly, I packed away everything connected to Clara. those hidden photos I cherished, the heartfelt, youthful love letters she never even bothered to open, that gorgeous white dress she refused to wear. Flashing a bitter, mocking smile at my foolishness, I boxed all those useless memories and trashed them. Just at that very second, the bedroom door violently opened. Clara marched right inside, instantly noticing the meaningful items I was throwing away. A very icy glare flashed across her eyes. "Are you still playing this pathetic hard-to-get game, intentionally waiting for the exact moment I return, just to throw these things away? You have seriously put way too much effort into this stunt." Ignoring her, I kept dumping things softly, saying, "Act or not, you will definitely know in 15 days. "You remember that clearly?" she sneered. "You are not actually counting down the days, are you?" "Yes." I finally raised my head. A genuine smile spread across my pale face. "Long time no see. I count every day to finally escape you. What do you and I think?" Hearing that, Clara's face completely dropped. "The real payback starts now. Stick with me. You are about to see ultimate disrespect." "Tom, do you really think I believe you?" "Believe whatever you want. It is your choice." I stared straight into her cold eyes. My voice was quiet but packed with absolute determination. "Clara, this time I am completely done with you." Surprisingly, seeing my unbreakable glare actually sent a weird jolt of regret right through her heart. She almost said something, but right on cue, her favorite guy David started video calling. Clara just stared at me for a really long minute. Then she finally decided I was not worth her time and walked away into the study room. Finished packing up, I grabbed my bag and walked straight out the door. Today was actually my birthday. Like always, my awesome friends threw a huge birthday party for me. Joking around with them, I slowly started to forget all my heavy drama. For once, I genuinely laughed from the bottom of my heart. But true happiness never lasts long. Right as we were cutting the cake, the heavy doors of our private rooms smashed open. Clara confidently strutted inside, bringing David and her entire squad of snobby friends. Her squad looked around with totally mocking faces. "Is this a birthday party? Sorry, we are taking over this room. Could you losers leave now?" Staring at these rude crashers, the champagne glass in my hand completely froze. My fingers gripped the glass until my knuckles whitened. Now pay close attention here. Seeing their totally malicious smirks, I knew they crashed this place on purpose just to completely ruin my one special night. My amazing friends knew it too, but to protect me, they stood their ground. "Excuse me, explain yourselves. We booked this room early. If anyone is leaving, it is you." Laughing at our defiance, the rich girls literally pulled out a legal contract and slammed it right on the table. "Read this closely. Clara just bought this entire building. We can boot whoever we want. Be smart and leave right now before we literally toss you all out onto the street like absolute garbage." My friends were absolutely furious and ready to fight, but I quickly pulled them back safely. Staring at Clara, I reminded her that ownership changes do not break leases. The club has other rooms. She stayed totally silent. David smugly chimed in first. "Sorry, I just really want this exact room." Then he grabbed her arm and whined. "Clara, I love the vibes in here. Throw them out." Without even glancing at me, she gave the order. "Clear it." Instantly, her obnoxious crew jumped right into action and started completely wrecking our party room. Our balloons were stomped flat. The flowers were brutally crushed, and my birthday cake got hurled against the wall. Frosting flew everywhere. My favorite photos got ripped apart. "Clara, what the heck? Are you insane?" My friends kept yelling angrily. I totally lost it. Sprinting forward to hopefully save my last nice picture, a guard brutally shoved me backward. During the chaos, somebody rammed into me. I tripped right toward David, who let out a ridiculously dramatic scream. Clara's eyes went completely ice cold. Using one hand, she shielded David behind her back while forcefully shoving me away with everything she had. We both saw this coming, crashing backward into the huge champagne tower. Crash! Hundreds of heavy glasses shattered down like a crystal rainstorm. Freezing alcohol mixed with nasty new injuries completely soaked my entire suit. The absolute agony from those jagged glass shards literally made my vision go dark. "Drag him out." Clara sounded like pure winter ice. Two big goons tightly grabbed my hair, brutally dragging me down the sharp stone steps until my entire body was absolutely covered in painful injuries. Crimson stains soaked my clothes, leaving awful marks across the floor. Everything blurred and my ears rang loudly right before I passed out. The very last thing I witnessed, Clara gently fixing David's slightly messy hair. She treated him like an absolute treasure. Hours vanished into thin air, and I finally woke up laying in a bright hospital room. My loyal friends were anxiously watching over me, their eyes practically burning with pure anger. Tom, are you seriously avoiding a divorce? Clara absolutely destroyed you on your birthday. Honestly, this twisted mess does not even resemble a marriage anymore. She literally treats you like her worst enemy. Do you seriously want to stay with her? I stared at the floor, gently rubbing the heavy bandages wrapping my arm. The deep cuts fiercely throbbed, completely matching my shattered, heavy heart. I cannot live like this anymore. Sounding totally exhausted, I confessed I already filed for divorce. Just 12 short days left in the mandatory waiting period. Once I grab that official paper, I will finally be completely free. Seriously? My friends excitedly squeezed my hands in shock. Heck yes, you finally woke up. You are tall, handsome, and brilliant. For years you poured your entire soul out for that girl, but she only ever cared about useless David. She is ridiculously blind. Honestly, it is so incredible you finally saw the truth and permanently dumped Clara. I promise, with your amazing stats, what kind of girl can't you find? My friends promised me top-tier beauties, and trust me, you and I are absolutely going to love watching this guy's epic revenge and comeback arc. Let's dive right into this crazy mess. Missing the quiet footsteps outside entirely until the door forcefully blasted open. I glanced up instantly, locking onto Clara's incredibly freezing and distant glare. Raising her voice sharply, she snapped, 100 top-tier beauties, Tom. Do you really think you are that amazing? I never expected her sudden dramatic arrival. Stunned for a quick second, I rapidly regained my total cool. Honestly, whether I am amazing or not, what does it matter to you? I never bothered you whenever you chased after David. So whether I go on blind dates or exactly how many ladies I see, it has absolutely nothing to do with you. Clara just stared, pure annoyance flashing across her eyes. It genuinely does not concern me at all, but I strongly advise you, if you want blind dates, wait until you actually hold that official divorce certificate. Otherwise, it just looks totally disgusting. I refused to back down, nodding in firm agreement. Exactly. I am planning those blind dates once I finally get that certificate. Liam, make sure you line up 7 stunning beauties for me. I will date a new one every single day, 0 repeats all week long. Seeing my absolute fearless confidence, Clara completely snapped out of her little dream state. A sudden blazing anger welled up inside her. Out of nowhere, she whipped out the property division agreement her lawyer recently sent over, forcefully throwing it right at my face. Fine then, I will simply wait for the actual day of our official divorce. Now pay attention as she tells him to bring those 7 dates right in front of her and physically hand over that divorce certificate exactly on time. Dropping those harsh words, she stormed off completely while I watched her leave. I casually grabbed the agreement, scanning through to confirm all her vast properties were perfectly divided in half for me. Only then did I safely pack it away. After saying goodbye to the guys, I handed that massive document to my lawyer, immediately selling off all my new real estate. Luxury cars, yachts, and stocks, converting everything straight into cash. Watching my bank account skyrocket, my racing heart finally started to calm down. With this massive payout, my future was perfectly secure. For the next several days, I simply stayed hidden in the quiet hospital to fully recover. Heading home alone after being discharged, I walked right into Clara and David passionately kissing in the totally empty living room, bathed in warm yellow lighting. David tightly held Clara while her extremely slender fingers gently caressed. Holding his face, she lowered her head, kissing his neck softly. That exact tender expression was something I never experienced in 12 long years. I slammed the heavy door loudly, completely startling the lovebirds out of their moment. Clara quickly turned. Her tender gaze completely froze into absolute ice the second she actually recognized me. What kind of crazy dramatic spell are you under right now anyway? Standing frozen by the door, my nails dug deep into my palms, yet a totally forced calm smile masked my face. Honestly, can I say this looks disgusting? Disgusting, Clara sneered, wiping her thumb slowly across David's lips. What about you constantly begging for my kisses before? Wasn't that even worse? I chuckled lightly. I know what you are thinking. Yes, he admits he was blind back then, but looking up with clear eyes, he raises 3 fingers, speaking every single word perfectly. I, Tom, solemnly swear that if I still like Clara, I will face absolute ruin. Clara's pupils shrank, her racing heart suddenly clenching tight. She never expected such a brutal, venomous oath, and an invisible, furious fire wildly burned right inside her chest. Clara. David gently pulled her sleeve, whining softly. I am hungry. Clara inhaled deeply, forcefully, suppressing the raging anger inside. Gently patting David's hair, she finally sighed. Okay, I will go cook for you. Turning around, she shot me a heavy glare. I completely ignored her, casually walking straight upstairs alone. My cold, unbothered exit left her feeling extremely frustrated. Inside the kitchen, she carelessly chopped vegetables, totally distracted. Those harsh words about absolute ruin kept echoing forever. The sharp blade dangerously grazed her fingers. For the next several days, I totally locked myself indoors, waiting patiently until the very last day of that mandatory, annoying divorce cooling-off period finally arrived. Meanwhile, my high school buddies randomly organized a big reunion, assuming this might be our final hangout. I casually decided to show up and see everyone again. The exact second I pushed that private room door open, loud, familiar waves of laughter hit me. Our class monitor, Jia Hang, noticed me first, jumping up in total surprise. "Tom, you actually made it," smiling. I gave a simple, somewhat puzzled nod. The moment I grabbed an empty seat, my excited classmates practically swarmed around me with burning questions. "Tom, rumor says you actually married Clara. Is that true? Were you guys not total enemies back in high school?" "Seriously?" "Exactly. You two argued every single time you crossed paths. How did a marriage even happen? Is this fake news?" My fingers gently rubbed the edge of my wine glass. That sudden chill snapped me right back to reality. Curling my lips, I showed a totally calm smile. "Yeah, we got married, but we are going through a divorce right now." That single sentence dropped like heavy ice into boiling water. And that is where we leave it. The room goes dead silent while everyone stares in total shock. The smiles on everyone's faces instantly stiffened. Someone coughed awkwardly. A classmate looked down, pretending to sip their drink. The heavy atmosphere totally froze for a while before someone sighed. "Come along with me on this one." "What a shame. Our class's only happy couple suddenly divorcing." Someone just had to blurt it out. "Didn't you like Clara a lot?" Back then, others might have missed it, but I saw it clearly. "You were always annoying her. Wasn't it just to get her attention?" "Who says nobody else noticed? I definitely saw it." "Yeah, me too. I was completely stunned. I never expected my deeply hidden secret feelings to be noticed so clearly by all my former classmates. How did you guys notice?" That single question instantly unlocked a door to old memories. Everyone immediately started chattering away. "Isn't it super obvious? Back in junior year, certain girls were insanely jealous of Clara being the absolute school beauty with top grades. They secretly spread awful rumors behind her back. When you heard, you charged right in and punched every single one. That intense aura completely terrified all of us. And here is something even more extreme. The time your mom passed away. You were completely devastated. We heard Clara had a terrible car crash. She needed a vital transfusion. Without hesitation, you ran to the hospital, continuously donating until you completely passed out. There is more. During that high school graduation trip, Clara's camera suddenly fell into the lake. It held super important competition files. Without a second thought, you jumped in. That was freezing cold lake water right in the middle of winter. Afterward, you caught a massive fever and stayed hospitalized for at least half a month, right? If that isn't loving someone endlessly, who else would jump in? Hearing those deeply buried memories brought up one by one, my chest completely tightened. You and I both know that feeling, right? All those intentionally forgotten teenage emotions suddenly flashing before my eyes. I gripped my glass super tightly, my knuckles turning white, my throat feeling completely choked. I couldn't utter a single word. "Excuse me." I hurriedly stood up. "I need to go to the restroom for a bit to wash my face." When I came back and reached for the handle, I saw Clara standing right by the door, staring at me with a totally unreadable, complex expression. The things they just talked about, her voice was super deep, echoing heavily from within her chest. Are they all true? My heart suddenly clenched up like an invisible hand squeezed it. I forced a cold smile. True or false? Does it even matter? After all, the person you love is David, right? Clara's eyebrows furrowed slightly. I didn't even wait for her answer, just brushing right past her. I saw my old classmates, and now Clara is here too. I don't want to stay here anymore. So I said a quick goodbye to everyone and left all alone. But exactly as I walked out the hotel doors, Clara's car stopped right in front of me. The window slowly rolled down, revealing her beautiful, delicate side profile. "Get in." Her voice held zero emotion. "I have something to tell you." I silently opened this back door. The car faintly smelled like cedar wood. That was the exact scent I used to be entirely obsessed with. But now, smelling that familiar scent again, my heart felt absolutely no ripples, even though we were in the same space. But between us, a huge, invisible barrier seemed to separate us completely. For a long moment, nobody spoke until that familiar villa area finally appeared. Clara suddenly broke the silence. Her slender fingers slowly tightened their grip firmly around the steering wheel. "Just how long are you going to keep causing a scene?" Her voice carried a weird awkwardness I had literally never heard before. I completely dodged her question and coldly sneered. "What scene am I causing?" "Clara, do you not understand me?" Watch closely now, because just as I spoke, a piercing ringtone suddenly interrupted us. Clara hit the answer button. David's loud, screaming voice mixed with heavy crying instantly echoed throughout the entire car. "Clara, I'm at the Night Color Club, room 1201, save me." Clara's expression instantly changed. She violently swerved the steering wheel and the tires immediately let out a piercing screech. While desperately comforting David over the phone, she crazily blasted through dozens of red lights. The speedometer needle just kept rapidly rising. The car braked super hard right outside the Night Color Club. Clara practically kicked her door open and frantically rushed out. I followed her to the 12th floor. What appeared right before our eyes was an elaborately set-up proposal scene. The floor was covered in rose petals. Romantic candlelight flickered in the corners. David stood there trembling, leaning hard against the wall corner. His expensive suit wrinkled like an old rag. Right before him stood a woman in a long dress looking completely unhinged. The sharp knife in her hand glinted under the lights. Her voice was super hoarse. "David, Clara is already married. She can never give you a proper status. I have chased you for years. Why won't you just give me one single chance? If you reject me today, we are both finished." David looked at Clara like a lifeline. "And that is where we leave it. You'll definitely want to see what happens next. Let's dive right into this wild mess." Clara arrives, but Jenna is forcing David to date her or she will finish him. He begs for rescue. Hearing this, Jenna turns around. Spotting Clara right there, her eyes widen in pure shock, instantly losing her mind. She warns Clara to stay back, threatening to go all out immediately. Clara stays completely fearless, though she is truly terrified Jenna might actually harm David. Raising her hands, she slowly backs away, forcing her voice to remain steady and perfectly calm. She reminds Jenna that David simply does not return her feelings. Forcing a relationship like this will never bring her any real happiness. Jenna glares furiously, gripping her weapon and aiming it straight at me behind Clara. She sneers, mocking Clara for marrying Tom despite having zero romantic feelings for him at all. If Clara can endure a completely loveless marriage forever, why cannot David do the same? Clara's expression shifts slightly, her voice dropping to ice. She admits she knows exactly how awful it feels to marry someone you do not love. That is exactly why she is warning her away from this path. Every single second feels like an inescapable cage, totally trapping you until the very end. No matter how hard you try, you cannot break free. You love David. Why force him into a painful situation just to suffer like her? Living an entirely fake life together without a single shred of real emotion. Hiding in the shadows, I dig my nails into my palms. I always knew this forced marriage felt like a total cage to her, but hearing her actually admit that being near me is pure torture hurts so much. My chest aches terribly, feeling completely crushed. Yet Clara's honest words completely fail to sway Jenna, especially since David still aggressively refuses to give in. Jenna totally loses her mind, her fragile patience completely vanishing. She screams that she only wants David right now. She threatens that if he rejects her again, they are both going to perish together right here. Watch closely, guys. The weapon flashes coldly as she suddenly swings her arm, launching a vicious strike straight at David. Without any hesitation, Clara instantly dives to shield him. I watch in absolute horror as the sharp blade strikes her directly. A dark red stain instantly ruins the beautiful white dress I had so carefully ironed. Clara collapses. David screams in absolute agony as Clara's face instantly loses color. Cold sweat covers her forehead, yet she stubbornly holds her ground, continuing to protect him from harm. Jenna grips the handle tightly until the cops finally smash through the door, rushing inside to completely take her down. Finally, losing all her strength, Clara collapses heavily to the floor, yet she still tries shielding David. He pulls her into a tight hug, absolutely bawling his eyes out. He begs her to stay awake. He promises to finalize his divorce tomorrow so they can be together freely. Clara forces a weak smile, glancing right at me, standing nearby with a mocking tone. She whispers that Tom will never grant a divorce. He is simply faking it. She tells David she truly loves him, promising to always choose him in another lifetime. She refuses to obey her grandfather again. I stand there watching this devastating moment, biting my lip. You guys see this, right? She still thinks I am faking it. Clara is completely wrong. Finally, the operating room light clicks off. It is 3 a.m. The exhausted doctor takes off his mask, announcing the injury is pretty shallow and they arrived fast enough. She only needs a month of solid rest. Standing at the far end of the hallway, I watch David frantically sprint right inside. Just as I turn to leave, I catch Clara whispering to him with an incredibly weak yet gentle tone. Back at the massive villa, I stay completely awake all night. My luggage sits open on the floor, everything neatly packed away. At sunrise, I drag my bags straight to the office. Someone congratulates me on my brand new freedom. The worker hands over the divorce papers. I gently trace the document, realizing my 12 long years of obsession are truly over. I slowly slide the wedding band right off my finger, placing it alongside the official certificate into a beautiful gift box I prepared earlier. The pale ring mark remains incredibly obvious. Just like Clara, it leaves a permanent impression on my life, though deep time will eventually erase it completely. Meanwhile, back at the hospital, Clara leans against her pillows, casually reviewing some paperwork. She does not even glance up. Looking totally unsurprised, she coldly asks why I am awake this early. Did I rush out early just to cancel our official divorce application? Calmly flipping her document to a brand new page, she waits. Still resting in bed, she speaks with absolute zero emotion. She sharply warns me that her patience is running incredibly thin. She claims this is the final time she will accept my games. Staying silent, I simply hand over the wrapped gift box. My gaze stays perfectly calm and completely unbothered. I softly tell her that she will understand everything the second she opens this present. Clara finally looks up, expecting another pathetic apology gift. But touching the soft velvet box, a very weird sense of panic suddenly hits her. Trust me, my totally calm stare makes her realize everything just changed. Let us dive right in. She stared straight at him, but realized that old comforting warmth was completely gone now. Ping, her phone screen lit up with David's profile picture flashing a message. I made your favorite porridge. I will be right there, wait for me. A sweet smile naturally curved her lips, and all those weird, messy feelings from before just totally vanished. Okay, you have made a big enough scene today. Leave now. I literally do not care about your gift. With a thud, she carelessly tossed the little box onto the bedside table. David is arriving soon. He absolutely does not want to see you. I just stood there watching the warm sunlight filter through the curtains, beautifully lighting up her delicate side profile. Those exact same eyes that used to make me fall so desperately hard. But right now I felt absolutely nothing inside. 12 long years of total devotion officially ended right here. Goodbye. I finally just dropped those 2 words. Leaving the hospital alone, I dragged my last bags straight to the airport and boarded my flight. I completely blocked all of Clara's social accounts. For the rest of my entire life, I am done loving her. From this exact moment, we are living in totally different worlds. Heaven knows we are never crossing paths again. Clara spent 2 whole weeks healing in the hospital room. David visited her every single day, completely unfazed by weather, tenderly caring for her every single need. But honestly, for some strange reason, her heart felt totally empty, like a huge missing puzzle piece. Now pay attention here, because things shift. I truly never showed my face again. Clara totally brushed it off at first, but as days passed, she grew incredibly restless. She started staring blankly at the hospital room door all the time, desperately waiting for a certain someone to walk in. But the guy she kept waiting for never showed. Clara, drink this soup. I specifically asked the housekeeper to make this black chicken soup. It is super good for getting your energy back. David scooped up a spoonful of the chicken soup, blowing on it gently until it was perfectly warm, then slowly brought it to her lips. She opened her mouth automatically, her eyes completely drifting to the door again. Clara, what are you watching? David noticed her acting weird, his smile freezing up slightly. Are you expecting someone? Who is it? They both completely knew the truth. Clara instantly denied it. No. She looked away, sounding super calm, but obviously David saw right through her lie. He bit his lip, totally acting hurt. Clara, are you secretly hoping Tom comes to visit? Clara frowned, snapping right back at him. You are overthinking this. Why would I wait for him? Really? David looked down, his gentle voice sounding super sweet but packed with hidden poison. Tom definitely knows you are badly hurt. He has not visited you even a single time without even calling. Hearing these exact words, Clara quietly gripped her blanket a little tighter. He was absolutely right. In the past, if she even just coughed slightly, I would be totally freaking out with a million questions, but now she was incredibly close to losing everything. I simply dropped off a tiny box and vanished without a trace. Could it be I honestly do not care about her anymore? That thought had just suddenly appeared. It instantly made her feel inexplicably annoyed. David saw her mood shift and quickly softened his gentle voice to comfort her. "Clara, do not be sad. Tom is probably just incredibly busy." Clara let out a freezing cold laugh. Busy? What could he honestly be so busy with? Maybe. A sneaky, calculating look flashed in David's eyes, faking total hesitation. He whispered maybe he actually found someone new. After all, did he not previously say he wanted to find 7 top-tier beauties? You feel that tension. Clara abruptly cut him off, face dangerously dark. David acted startled, pretending he was super hurt. "Clara, I am sorry. I meant nothing by it. I just do not want him tricking you ever again." Clara took a huge breath, pushing down all her heavy annoyance and faked a smile. "It is my fault. Whatever, let us drop the subject." But inside her mind, she simply could not stop seeing my eyes appearing. When I walked out, they looked so incredibly calm and totally distant, as if our past bond never existed. By her discharge day, Clara was clearly acting super impatient. She rushed straight back to the big villa, shoving the front door open. The place was totally dark and silent. Absolutely empty. She frowned, automatically calling out, "Tom, 0 answer." She flipped the room lights on, and then finally she noticed. Every piece of furniture had a thin layer of dust on it. It seemed I truly had not been home in a really long time. Clara walked into the living room, her gaze sweeping right over that velvet box on the coffee table. That was the exact gift I left before vanishing. While packing her hospital stuff, the assistant asked if they should just return it to me. She acted dismissive at first, but eventually told the assistant to keep it. Right in this moment, she reached out like she was completely possessed and picked up the box. Whether I was making a scene, this gift would surely show the truth. My voice still echoed in her ears. She held the incredibly light box and slowly opened it. "Trust me, you and I want to see this." A wedding ring, a divorce certificate. Clara froze in absolute shock. "You and I are about to watch karma hit hard." She frantically opened up that shocking divorce paper. It carried the official government stamp. The date printed was the exact same day she got badly injured. Clara stared blankly at that small red booklet. Her fingers just kept shaking. I wasn't faking this anymore. No more playing hard to get. I seriously did not need her anymore. Clara stood frozen in the hallway, clutching that divorce paper so incredibly tight that her entire body started trembling from the heavy pressure. Under the bright light, that red certificate with gold lettering gave off a brutally cold, unforgiving gleam. That bright red official stamp looked exactly like a permanent burn mark. Officially ending their entire marriage, she frantically flipped it over, checking it multiple times just to be totally sure. She even suspected I made a fake copy. But feeling that hard texture under her fingertips proved it was undeniably real. All those feelings from so many years. Could they truly vanish just like that? That heavy question kept echoing relentlessly inside her mind. Clara took a huge breath, forcing her racing heart to calm down. Then she instantly grabbed her phone to call her assistant, keeping her voice completely ice cold. "Track Tom's exact location right now. Flights, fast trains, hotel records, absolutely everything you can find. Bring it." The poor assistant had never heard Clara lose control like this. They scrambled, but 30 minutes later, the devastating reply practically threw Clara into a freezing ice block. "Boss Tom took an international flight over a month ago. Final destination is completely unknown. All his social media accounts permanently deleted. Phone numbers and domestic bank cards have all been totally deactivated too." Clara gripped that phone so aggressively tight that her knuckles instantly turned completely pale white. Now watch closely, things get crazy here. Denying reality, she hung up, sprinting upstairs and forcefully smashing that bedroom door wide open. Before her was just dead space. The bed was made perfectly without a single wrinkle, and the giant wardrobe was completely empty too. Every single piece of my clothes vanished. Even my personal toiletries on the bathroom counter completely disappeared. Not one single trace remained, just a lonely little letter resting quietly right there on the envelope. It held only a few short words for Clara. Her hands started trembling uncontrollably. That massive wave of panic was basically about to drown her. She frantically tore open the envelope. Inside sat an unbelievably short final sentence. "Clara, I am truly gone this time, wishing you endless happiness. 0 resentment, no lingering attachment, and absolutely no extra explanation." I just silently walked out of her life forever. Then the bedroom door swung open again. A sudden gust blew the paper down. Clara looked up. It was David. David shamelessly looked around the empty room. He already figured out that I had truly left this house for good. He was absolutely overjoyed. Voice trembling with pure excitement, he grabbed her arm. "Clara, this massive bedroom has amazing lighting. Let us stay in here from now on, okay?" He held her hand with a massive smile, his eager words barely hiding his extreme impatience. The guy waited way too long for this exact day. Clara finally snapped back to reality, staring at David's face. Feeling entirely absent-minded, she mumbled a reply, her gaze subconsciously drifting toward that single sofa chair right by the window. That always used to be my absolute favorite spot. I loved curling up right there, reading books every single noon. That gentle sunlight filtering through those curtains would sprinkle onto my hair, giving it a soft golden glow. But right now, that comfortable sofa sat completely empty. David totally missed her distraction. After getting Clara's okay that afternoon, he quickly dragged his luggage upstairs and moved in. He excitedly ordered the servants to swap out those curtains. All furniture, even my beloved single sofa chair, got trashed. Even the dinnerware I carefully picked out got replaced by his preferred styles. He claimed the old plates looked way too outdated. "This utterly clashes with your vibe," he mocked loudly, carelessly dumping my precious bone china plates right into the trash. We both felt that right. Those broken pieces genuinely stabbed her heavy heart. I used to cherish those plates so much, looking at her gently and asking Clara, "Check out this beautiful pattern. Doesn't it look exactly like the green vines behind our old high school building?" How did she answer back then? Just boring. But today she doesn't even have the chance to mock me anymore. In the dead of night, Clara sat completely alone in the study, just holding a glass of whiskey. The burning alcohol scorched her throat, yet failed to extinguish that deep confusion inside. Sure, the villa felt super lively again after David finally moved his things in, but she still felt incredibly empty inside. There was a time she genuinely believed she despised my clinginess, utterly hating my entire existence. But after I actually vanished, she realized she missed me. Missing every single early morning together. Missing when I placed hot black coffee on her desk, the temperature always perfectly right. She missed my company whenever she worked late through the night. Missing those warm blankets and my stubborn eyes. So what do we learn? You never value loyalty until it vanishes. Let's dive right in. This realization made her chest ache. But what about David? Always so obedient and understanding. Yet spending time together, Clara secretly felt his endless charm was just a meticulously designed fake performance. Even his sweet whining felt like a perfectly calculated chess move. Right now, he stood by the massive window, gazing down at the gorgeous garden below, a charming smile on his lips, confidently directing the gardener to plant those expensive trees he loved. Meanwhile, right under his feet lay the shattered pieces of my old sandalwood, totally trampled and destroyed. Then, seemingly noticing her intense gaze from across the room, David looked right up. His handsome smile was literally flawless, almost like the angles were carefully measured. Suddenly, she realized she never actually understood this guy at all. The very next day, while cleaning the study, Clara accidentally bumped a heavy stack of documents. An old notebook randomly slid out. She felt puzzled. In all her memories, she never ever used a notebook style like this. She bent down, grabbed it, and opened the very first page. Today, Clara skipped breakfast again. I secretly hid a sandwich in her desk, hoping she wouldn't notice. Clara gasped. "This was my diary. I left it." Shaking, she flipped the page. Clara twisted her ankle, dancing. I secretly put medicine in her locker, but she caught me coldly, asking if I was joking. I acted tough, saying yes, hoping she'd stay hurt. Honestly, my heart was breaking inside. Mom passed away. Dad proudly moved that woman and David right in. I hid and cried. My mind only thought of Clara. "Could you hug me?" First anniversary, she chose David again. I trashed the cake, but around midnight I totally caved, picking it up to eat alone. It honestly tasted incredibly awful afterwards. Now watch closely, page after page, her vision blurred. Every single word carried such heavy, genuine feelings. All this time in total secret, I had loved her so incredibly humbly and stubbornly. Yet she brutally trampled those true feelings under her feet, crushing them into dust. Clara slammed the diary shut, grabbed her keys, and rushed out. She desperately checked every airport flight. Even turning the whole world completely upside down, she had to find me. Meanwhile, I was isolated. Suddenly hearing super hurried footsteps, I instinctively looked right up, spotting a figure frantically searching the wide courtyard. It was Clara. Her eyes held pure panic and confusion. My heart instantly jolted. I had no idea why she looked like that, but so what? What could she even say? A fake apology or instant regret? Would I honestly believe it? The cool night breeze blew past her. Deep disappointment flashed in her eyes. Because some precious things once lost are gone forever. She dejectedly returned to the study, sitting by that massive window. Trembling, she opened the diary once again. Outside, dark night finally fell. The desk lamp illuminated those yellowed pages. You and I both feel this. Those faded words pierced her heart. She flipped page after page, discovering my absolute deepest secrets. Today, guys spread nasty rumors about Clara claiming she totally cheated and only became student council president because her wealthy family bought it. Student council, I was furious and totally fought them. Caught by the teacher, I had to stand all afternoon long, but zero regrets. What right did they have to trash her? Clara's breath hitched. She suddenly remembered that day, seeing my horribly bruised face standing outside as punishment in the hallway. She had coldly mocked me. Fighting again. Tom, can you stop acting like a thug all day? I just quietly lowered my head. I did it for her, Clara choked up, flipping further. Clara had a bad car crash. The hospital sounded the alarm. I secretly went to donate. The nurse warned that giving too much was risky, but Clara was desperately waiting, so I insisted on giving an entire full bag. Afterwards, I totally fainted. Waking up, I heard she was safely out of danger. Thank goodness her fingers tightened. The paper in her palm wildly crumpled, making a loud snap. After that crash, she woke up and the doctor really mentioned some mystery classmate had generously donated for her recovery. But when she asked who, the doctor claimed it was just a classmate wanting to remain completely anonymous. So it was me. I almost risked my entire life for her without getting one single word of thanks. An invisible hand gripped her chest, squeezing until she suffocated. So where do we go from here? Flipping back the sloppy handwriting proved the writer was getting insanely emotional right then. Today is officially Christmas Eve. Stick with me here. It is Clara's birthday. He secretly crafted a bamboo rabbit lantern all month. His fingers got totally shredded by the wood, but honestly, he never even dared to hand it over. She was so annoying she would just completely reject it anyway. She slams the diary shut and squeezes her eyes tight. That rabbit lantern. Later on, she spotted it crammed inside some dusty box in storage. Assuming it was just useless junk left by a random worker, she carelessly ordered someone to throw the entire thing away. But now she finally realizes it was his pure dedication. She stands up super slowly, pacing over to the massive floor-to-ceiling window. Outside, darkness falls. City lights flicker like little stars, but her vision goes totally blurry. In her mind, Tom was always just this stubborn, arrogant guy who absolutely refused to let go. Yet the guy in this diary was incredibly humble, patient, careful with every single detail, loving her deeply, yet too terrified to even say, "I like you." Suddenly, the memory of their old class reunion hits her. Back then, while former classmates were loudly gossiping, he just coldly denied having feelings and walked right out without looking back. He hid it because he knew she would never care anyway. That brutal realization makes her chest physically ache with so much heavy regret right now. Right outside the cracked study door, a shadowy figure stands completely still. Peeking through that narrow gap, David watches Clara holding the diary, looking totally lost. His fingernails dig painfully deep right into his own palms. A dark look flashes across his eyes. Tom is already gone. Why is his annoying shadow still lingering like this? Now pay attention here. Early the next morning at the dining table, David holds a coffee cup, faking a completely casual tone. Clara, while cleaning up yesterday, I found Mr. Tom left a bunch of random junk lying around. Should I just toss it all? Clara stops cutting her food immediately. Her voice goes ice cold. Just leave them there. Do not touch his things. David keeps his face perfectly blank, but then he intentionally sighs. I know, but Mr. Tom is something. You two separated. Why did he not pack his stuff? Leaving only this diary behind feels totally intentional, like he is afraid. You might never realize how much he loved you. Clara stays dead silent, forcefully slamming her silverware onto the table with a harsh clatter. She glares right up at him, eyes terrifyingly cold. David, watch your mouth right now. That intense glare scares David. He never expected her to snap over this comment, so he tries smoothing things over quickly. Clara, are you mad? I am literally just stating facts here. Is he not just playing the victim to make you feel totally sorry for him? Clara sneers loudly. When he fought for me, saved my life, and jumped into an icy lake, where were you? David goes completely pale. He probably faked all those crazy stunts anyway. You know him well, he is a great actor. Enough. Clara suddenly jumps straight up. Her heavy chair scrapes the floor with a screech. She stares down at David, her eyes flashing an unprecedented level of frost. Her next words are a strict warning. David, do not make me regret housing you. Dropping that warning, she immediately turns and leaves, leaving David standing completely frozen, his face cycling through pale colors. Outside, Clara stands alone in the garden, massive emotions bubbling up inside her. She always believed Tom was the bad guy ruining her bond with David. We both felt that right. The David she trusted completely just used her vulnerable state to trash Tom. She suddenly realizes she might be entirely wrong. Her gaze locks onto the far horizon. Tom, where exactly are you? After that dramatic breakfast, Clara feels like a sharp thorn just pierced her heart. David throwing those toxic insults finally makes her truly suspect him for once. Memories from their class reunion keep echoing while David and his constant mocking remarks suddenly become incredibly annoying to her ears. What actual proof did he have that Tom was faking? Back at the office, Clara stands in front of the giant window, mindlessly tracing the edge of her coffee cup with a dark gaze. She grabs her phone and directly orders her assistant investigate David. Her tone is absolute ice. I need to know exactly what he has been doing these past years. 3 days pass. Her assistant drops a massive background report right onto Clara's desk. She barely flips past the first page before her expression turns furious. Every single one of her dark suspicions was true. David is way worse than she ever guessed. The file contains detailed proof of his incredibly shady deals with numerous wealthy business owners over the years. There is clear evidence he literally used Clara to secretly crush the Yang family business rivals. But the most shocking part, these documents prove that whenever things got worse between her and Tom, it was almost always right after David conveniently showed up to intervene. In high school, she and Tom were just regular rivals, but once David arrived, Tom suddenly turned way harsher. Makes you think, right? Let's dive in. A car accident left her hospitalized. Tom secretly took care of her, but right after she woke up, David swooped in. He immediately fed her lies, saying, Tom totally ignores you. He didn't even bother to visit you here. Naturally, after their wedding, the tension between Clara and Tom just exploded completely. Looking back at it today, literally every single fight started because of David or some shady rumor his friends spread. He would act innocent, whining Sister Clara seems upset lately. Can you stay with her? Brother Tom really hates me. He just yelled at me. He even claimed Tom drugged his coffee, sobbing. How could he? Hearing this, Clara gripped that investigation report so fiercely her knuckles turned entirely pale. It hit her like a massive truck. The bitter, shocking truth: she had been completely manipulated by David for 10 whole years. Even with all those growing doubts, she still hesitated to push him away completely. But then an unexpected event totally flipped Clara's perspective on David forever. Her buddy Justin tracked her down looking super stressed and handed her a voice recorder. He explained he bumped into David at a loud bar. Watch closely because you need to hear this. Justin played it. After some loud background noise, the track suddenly went quiet. Instantly, that extremely familiar voice echoed out. David sounded totally wasted. In the recording, he was chilling in a fancy VIP room with his crew, just laughing loudly and uncontrollably. Justin seriously never meant to spy, but David's obnoxious cackling and super arrogant attitude were absolutely impossible to just ignore. Clara, who cares about her? She is basically a total joke in my hands. David slammed his expensive wine glass down, a terribly arrogant smirk slowly spreading across his face. Seeing his friends looking super shocked, he just chuckled loudly. You guys actually believed I cared about that woman? Come on, do not be so ridiculous. If it wasn't for her endless cash and massive influence, who on earth would ever waste years acting like some devoted, lovesick puppy just for her? The whole room erupted in laughter. One guy asked about Tom loving Clara like crazy. David just scoffed, his eyes practically dripping with absolute disgust. Tom is the biggest fool of all, obsessing for years. And what did he get? Just pure hatred from her. He tipped his head back loudly, chugging his drink. The heavy alcohol just fueled his wild, unstoppable ego. Remember that huge, chaotic mess at the family ancestral hall? I totally controlled Clara. I can literally tell her whatever wild story I want. She honestly believed Tom was picking on me. But reality, I completely shattered that old man's memorial tablet on purpose, and that pathetic Tom actually tried to stop me and fight back. The result, Clara whipped him with her own hands, 60 total brutal strikes. Hearing this, Justin looked completely sickened. He quickly secured that recording, snuck out, and dialed Clara right away. You and I felt that right. Hearing this tape, Clara looked like lightning just struck her. Her brain just totally flatlined. Then pure, unadulterated rage exploded. She squeezed her phone so intensely that dark veins bulged on her hands, her eyes absolutely overflowing with terrifying, fierce anger. Gritting her teeth, she forced out every single word. So this was the actual truth about that disastrous incident at the Ancestral Hall. Those 60 brutal lashes Tom suffered were entirely planned by David, but the absolutely most sickening part, she was basically acting as David's main weapon. Flashbacks of that awful family banquet rushed into her mind, seeing Tom's broken body collapsing in a terrible red puddle. He had looked up, eyes stinging, desperate to explain David started it, but she ignored him. She assumed Tom was just framing David, offering absolutely zero chance to speak. She single-handedly wrecked his devotion. Furious, Clara leaped up violently, smashing a wine bottle onto the floor. Glass shattered everywhere. Sharp edges sliced her fingertips, but honestly, physical cuts were nothing compared to the crushing agony in her soul. Who cares about a scratch? That exact night, Clara assembled her heavy security team, stormed the villa, and pounded on David's door. The absolute second it swung open, before his fake smile even fully formed, a massive bodyguard snatched his throat, pinning him fiercely to the wall. David, her voice echoed like an absolute demon straight out of nightmares. Absolute panic filled David's eyes. Choking for air, his face flushed bright red, quickly shifting to a dark purple as the guard squeezed harder. Clara, what is happening? Order this guy to release me. Laughing like cold ice, Clara signaled the guard to drop him. Then she blasted that VIP room recording from her phone. David's color completely drained away. That is not real. Let me explain. This is a setup. He desperately clawed at her arm, but she swatted him away like absolute trash. Her terrifying glare could melt steel. Oh, really? Then explain these documents right here. She slammed the investigation file right into his chest. Pages scattered everywhere. What is your excuse for this? Another convenient setup. David looked down. Reading the undeniable facts printed on the floor, his knees went weak, and he totally collapsed. Game over. Trust me, you and I know he's finished. Clara just stared down silently. Stick with me. She turned and walked away, completely freezing him out. Left behind, David was so terribly frightened his entire body shook in absolute panic. Boom, the door slammed shut with an earth-shattering crash. David shrank back, crying, yet his eyes held a weirdly peaceful look. Meanwhile, halfway across the world, Paris was just waking up to a bright new morning. Golden sunlight streamed through the massive floor-to-ceiling apartment windows. I sat by the window holding hot coffee, breathing out softly. Outside, the stunning Seine River sparkled like pure silver under the warm, glowing sunlight. The iconic Eiffel Tower stood tall in the morning glow. No Clara, no David to drag me down, just me finally free. Taking a warm sip of coffee, a genuine, joyful smile finally crossed my face. Wow, so this is exactly what true freedom tastes like. By my 3rd month in Paris, I joined an elite design academy. Honestly, I always had amazing natural talent for brilliant drawing anyway. All those deeply hidden feelings from my past finally poured out into my art. My unique style mixed deep Eastern beauty with bold Western flair. Very quickly, this stunning combination totally caught the eye of my amazed teaching assistant. Mr. Tom, your artwork is absolutely incredible. They praised my sketch, especially the brilliant dress cut that looked like a butterfly breaking free from its shell. A truly inspiring, positive, bright new direction. Breaking free like a gorgeous butterfly. I actually did it. I finally escaped her dark shadow and proved my brilliant master skills. I opened a cozy studio in Mart, proudly hanging my own sign. Then I luckily bumped into Jessica at a local design exhibition. She grew up right here in France. Her rich family deals in premium fabrics, and she is actually a pretty famous, respected designer. Pay close attention here. She stopped at my booth, stared, and pointed at a dark red gown. She asked where exactly did the inspiration for this stunning dress come from. I stared back at the beautiful gown. It was actually my very first design in Paris. I used to drown in my painful past, replaying old memories. But instead of quitting, I proudly transformed that sadness into my future. That is how this masterpiece was born. A bold red skirt beautifully embroidered with dazzling golden fluttering wings. Wanting to break free, I whispered. Jessica stared deeply into my eyes, then warmly smiled. My name is Jessica. Reaching out her hand, she said, Nice to meet you, broken cocoon designer. From that fateful moment, she became a lovely regular at my shop, sometimes bringing gorgeous, expensive fabrics or just quietly sitting aside, happily watching me draw magical sketches. She never pried into my dark past or crossed any boundaries. She just showed wonderful, calm, gentle kindness, slowly but surely melting my tough emotional walls. Then one quiet evening, she spoke. Next month is International Fashion Week. My brand has an open slot. Want to join me? I was absolutely speechless. That was a massive chance that millions of designers desperately dreamed of. In her eyes, I saw pure uplifting admiration and loving support. No fake pity, no hidden tricks. Just someone genuinely believing in my skills. My eyes honestly welled up with tears. All right. Over the next few days, I poured every ounce of energy into prepping for the massive event. Right before the huge show, I went out to find the perfect stylish accessories. You and I know what happens. Outside a fancy boutique, a familiar voice echoed. Tom, the guy, loudly shouted, staring at me totally wide-eyed. I froze. Then it completely clicked. Liam, my old high school buddy. Oh my gosh, it is actually you. He excitedly grabbed my hand. What are you even doing here? He looked me up and down, totally shocked. The confident guy standing here and that old depressed kid were literally entirely different people. I rocked a clean white shirt and casual jeans, my face glowing with pure, healthy energy. But my eyes were the real showstopper. The old fear was totally gone, replaced by the absolute rock-solid confidence of a mighty king. You look insanely different, Liam whispered. I just gave a gentle smile. Yeah, because I finally love myself. Liam teared up. He suddenly pulled me into a huge, warm hug. That is amazing, man. I softly patted his back. Golden sunlight wrapped around us both, leaving my heart wonderfully warm. Soon enough, the massive day arrived and my brilliant collection was finally officially debuting. Finally, gorgeous models wearing my custom gowns stepped onto the runway. The dark red silk flowed like liquid rubies. The shiny golden butterflies sparkled under the massive lights wanting to fly. Absolutely thunderous applause shook the room. Jessica stood beside me, whispering, Look! They are completely mesmerized. I watched the magical stage, happy tears forming. In this victorious moment, I was definitely no longer Clara's shadow, nor a pathetic joke to David. I was just Tom, a strong guy who finally found himself, a totally reborn Tom. Meanwhile, Clara stood silently by her massive floor-to-ceiling window, staring blankly at the falling leaves. Suddenly, David pushed the door open, walking right in. His leather shoes tapped heavily against the cold marble floor. Hey, Clara. He called out softly, flashing a super desperate, totally fake smile. Why so dark? Clara silently lowered her hand. Trust me, intense payback is coming. Stick with me here. He approached, wanting to hold her hand, but she smoothly dodged him. The company has been crazy busy lately. He turned to test the water's unease, clearly flashing in his eyes. Clara finally turned around, her lips curling into a mysterious little smirk. Yeah, things are extremely busy. She gently stroked his cheek, her voice mocking but sweet. What is wrong? Did you miss me? David felt an instant surge of absolute joy. Since their huge fight, she had not treated him this sweetly in forever. He was totally aware of it. Clara definitely could not bear leaving him. Of course I missed you. He grabbed the chance to pull her close, whining softly in her arms. You have been ignoring me completely lately. I seriously thought you were still furious with me. Clara looked right down at him, her gaze completely freezing cold, yet her tone was dangerously sweet enough to make absolutely anyone fall for it. How could I? She lowered her head. I am simply preparing a massive surprise for you. David smiled happily, reaching out to hug her tight. Under the glowing lights, their shadows stretched out and tangled together, looking like they were perfectly meant to be. Now watch this. 1 week later, the massive Yang Corporation suddenly crashes entirely. Funding vanished overnight and every single business partner pulled their cash. Even basic bank loans were suddenly delayed for absolutely no logical reason. Even loyal suppliers completely halted all deliveries. David's father was losing his absolute mind, begging everyone for help, but getting totally rejected. Who exactly is destroying our family like this? He aggressively slammed the table during the board meeting. Meanwhile, Clara sat peacefully in her giant office checking her assistant's exciting new corporate report. The Yang Corporation stock had absolutely plummeted to historic zeros. 3 major branches faced total bankruptcy and liquidation. Her lips curled up, but there was absolutely zero warmth or happiness hidden in her freezing eyes. Perfect. It is not enough yet. She made a phone call totally cold and ruthless. Keep applying the heavy pressure. I want the Yang family totally destroyed. Daring to mess with her, did they really think they could escape the ultimate payback price? David finally noticed the massive red flags. He called Clara endlessly but was instantly transferred to the secretary desk every time. He rushed straight to her company only to be totally stopped by the security guards downstairs. Sorry, sir. Boss Clara ordered 0 visitors today. No visitors? What did that even mean? You and I saw it coming. David finally realized her sweetness was just a trick to drop his guard. Panicking, he frantically searched through his phone contacts, trying to reach anybody who could save him, especially those buddies who hung around before. But right now, they completely dodged him like a terrible virus. Sorry, bro, it is not that I refuse to help. Boss Clara gave the ultimate order. Who dares to step in, Mr. Yang? My hands are totally tied. You really must save yourself. In pure despair, David sprinted straight to her villa, yelling wildly outside the gate. Clara, I admit my huge mistakes. Please spare my family, I am begging you. The heavy door slowly creaked open and Clara stood up high, staring right down. Her icy gaze looked at him like complete trash. Clara, please. David crawled forward desperately, grabbing her clothes while crying heavily, looking completely miserable and incredibly pathetic. I finally admit I was totally wrong. I will never lie to you again. Can you forgive me? Clara held back a sigh, gently grabbing his chin to lift his terrified face. David, she whispered so softly. Do you know my absolute biggest regret? David shook his head, totally terrified. Clara simply sneered a wicked smile that sent shivers everywhere. My biggest regret is not exposing your true villain face way sooner. She dropped him and stood tall, her voice sending absolute winter chills. You forced me to lose the one person who truly loved me. I will absolutely make sure you pay an incredibly painful price. The ultimate price. David sat totally collapsed on the floor, all color completely vanishing from his shocked face. No, this cannot be happening. Clara, I love you. I genuinely love you. Clara turned her back and walked away, dropping one incredibly cold and final line. Too bad. Your love is entirely worthless. 1 month later, the Yang Corporation officially announced their total bankruptcy. His father was arrested for massive business fraud. David sold off his fancy cars but still could not clear that giant mountain of debt. He stood outside his once totally glamorous mansion. Staring at the legal lockdown seal on the front gate, he finally broke down, dropping completely to his exhausted knees. Clara stood proudly by her giant window holding a glass of expensive golden wine that rippled, reflecting a very sharp and freezing cold light. Outside her huge window, the city neon lights flickered. Traffic was incredibly busy downstairs, but her personal world seemed entirely drained of color. The Yang family is finished. David is ruined, crushed by massive debt, falling from rich heir to a total outcast that absolutely everybody avoids like the plague. She really should feel victorious. But why did her broken heart feel even emptier? So what do you and I make of this? Revenge is sweet, but it never fills that freezing hole left inside your own heart. Stick with me here. Inside Clara Corporation's conference room, terrified executives just stared at each other. Clara sat at the head of the table, hair totally messy, eyes red and exhausted. She just carelessly tossed those important documents right onto the table. You bother me with this tiny issue. She let out a freezing laugh, her voice harsh. Do we pay you just to sit around and eat? The conference room went completely silent. Nobody dared to utter a single word. This was actually the 3rd time this month. Clara completely lost her temper mid-meeting. Ever since our guy left, she basically turned into a totally different person. Drinking constantly, totally careless, and super irresponsible at work. The entire company's foundation started slipping. Angry shareholders complained, but absolutely nobody dared to confront her. Her assistant carefully handed over a document. Boss Clara, here is last quarter's financial report that urgently needs your official signature. Clara didn't even look, just grabbed a fountain pen and wildly scribbled her name. Get out! The terrified assistant quickly ran away, rushing outside the tense office. Clara slowly pulled open her drawer and took out a photo. Their old wedding picture. In it, Tom wore a white suit, smiling so brightly while she looked freezing cold, acting like this marriage was a huge mistake. Looking back, she was the truly ridiculous one. Late that night, a totally drunk Clara called up her private detective. "Pay attention now. Have you found him yet?" Her voice was heavy and breathless. The other end stayed totally quiet. "Boss Clara, Mr. Tom's travel records were intentionally wiped clean. We cannot find his location anywhere. Completely useless." Clara furiously threw her phone against the wall. The screen totally shattered. She stumbled up. Snatching her car keys, she rushed outside. Tom's old apartment was always strictly guarded. Nobody lived there, and absolutely nobody dared to touch his things. Clara used a spare key to open the door. A faint, dusty smell hit her face. All his stuff was still sitting there on the sofa. His warm woolen coat was still hanging there. Right on the coffee table was a design magazine he never quite finished reading. On the kitchen hook hung his favorite apron, looking like he just went for a quick walk and could walk back in at any second. Clara collapsed right onto her knees. The alcohol and deep regret were totally torturing her. Her blurry eyes imagined seeing Tom. She muttered, her voice totally choking up. "I was wrong. Tom, please come back." The empty room just echoed. By morning, Clara woke up on the freezing floor. Weeks of heavy drinking left her looking completely exhausted, but those painful memories remained so incredibly clear. Clara slowly got up, took one final look at this simple rented apartment, and gently pulled the door shut. If she could find him, I know what you're thinking. If he gave her another chance, she'd spend her life making amends. Meanwhile, winter in Paris always hits super unexpectedly. Tom pulled his woolen scarf much tighter, his warm breath turning into thick white mist, blurring up the freezing glass window. His tailor shop's heating system still wasn't fixed. He rubbed his freezing red fingers, continuing to sketch out those fresh design lines for the brand new series. After Fashion Week, his incredible reputation soared. Countless fancy invitations and major business proposals absolutely flooded his tailor shop. Time became super tight. He buried his head at the busy desk, his pen scratching away across the paper. Then the front doorbell suddenly rang out. Sweet Jessica stood there, her black coat dotted with tiny snowflakes. She held 2 cups of steaming hot coffee, the tip of her cute nose slightly red from the chill. Tiny water droplets clung to her eyelashes in the morning light, looking just like a handful of scattered, crushed diamonds. "I heard a certain dedicated designer stayed up late again last night." She handed over a steaming cup, her hand accidentally brushing against the back of his. "Caramel macchiato light milk. You actually remembered that detail perfectly. That was his favorite flavor from his student days." Even Clara never remembered it that clearly. As the coffee warmed his palm, he suddenly noticed something. On her sleeve, a crooked little butterfly was drawn. "Did you draw that? Does it really look that bad?" Jessica leaned in closer to show him. "These are the wings. These are the antennae." She came surprisingly close. The fresh smell of cedar mixed with cold air hit his face. He suddenly noticed something on her right earlobe. A tiny little mole hid right under her dark hair, looking like a mysterious little star. "Tom, the coffee is getting cold now." He hurriedly lowered his head for a sip, then looked up only for her to suddenly reach right out and gently wipe away a small coffee stain from his mouth. Her warm hand touched him so lightly, then pulled away. Their eyes locked, both completely stunned. Outside the window, Paris's first snow fell completely silently. Then the night right before the big spring fashion week, heavy rain finally arrived. As Tom stood anxiously outside the exhibition center, a dark umbrella suddenly shielded him from behind. "I knew you would forget an umbrella." The right shoulder of Jessica's suit jacket was getting completely soaked. "It's okay. My car is nearby." Rainwater streamed down. "Trust me, you'll want to see what happens next." "Trust me on this one." Jessica suddenly slipped in her high heels, falling completely into my arms. I carefully caught her waist. The umbrella swayed violently in the wind. Freezing rain splashed right between our pressed sleeves. Through that soaked fabric, I felt the intense warmth of her chest and a racing heartbeat. Thump, thump. Who was actually nervous here? We both opened our mouths at the exact same time, then froze. Finally, Jessica smiled and spoke. "Should we count to 3 and speak together?" Through the misty air, her bright eyes looked like they held shattered glass fragments. I suddenly remembered the beautiful slip dress I altered yesterday. I had secretly embroidered half a golden butterfly wing right onto it. "Jessica," I whispered softly, Wait until fashion weekends. Let us go see the lavender fields together. She happily accepted my invitation. I checked the dates. Provence flower season begins next month. Moonlight pierced through thin clouds during Fashion Week. Meanwhile, the lights in my tailor shop stayed on all night. I drank endless cups of coffee, which eventually led to a seriously bad, persistent high fever. Inside the hotel room, I was completely dazed, feeling someone gently lifting my tired foot. Warm medicine flowed right down my throat. Jessica, what time is it? 3 in the morning. Her voice sounded pretty hoarse. Did you know you had a 39-degree fever? I struggled opening my eyes, seeing her in a wrinkled robe. She had heavy dark circles with fever medicine scattered all across the bedside table. You have not slept at all. She covered me every half hour, wiped my sweaty forehead with a wet towel, and kept hugging my arm while talking endlessly. I instantly woke up. I was sleepwalking. Watch closely now. Jessica leaned in so close I could literally count her eyelashes. Tom, she stared deep into my eyes. I tried helping. Scolding your ex-girlfriend actually brings down a fever. When you just yelled at her for the 7th time, your temperature naturally dropped 3 whole degrees. Really, I burst out laughing, then suddenly felt completely heartbroken, my eyes turning red. Jessica gently pulled me into a hug, resting her sweet chin on my shoulder. Men are allowed to cry too. If you need to, just cry. I own plenty of robes anyway. The sunlight in Provence is much warmer than Paris. Jessica stood beautifully in the middle of the flower field, watching me, totally surrounded by local kids playing with sparklers. I clumsily ruined some flower branches eventually, just using cash to bribe and playfully fool the energetic kids, which made them completely burst into joyful laughter. Mr. Designer, what are you hiding in your hand? I turned and walked right towards her. Please close your eyes. When Jessica closed her eyes, she felt her hair weigh down just a bit. Okay, you can open your eyes now. I used my phone screen as a mirror. A crooked sprig of lavender was pinned by her temple. The cute wreath looked like a comical crown. Jessica looked a bit distressed, wanting to reach up and remove it, but I gently grabbed her wrist. Just wait a minute. I pulled a shiny bracelet out of my pocket, dangling it right before her eyes. The inner ring was engraved with the letter K. Right now I want to tie down my spring, I gestured, sliding the bracelet onto the lovely person standing before me. Joyful laughter from the kids playfully echoed around us. Massive purple waves of flowers gracefully rose with the wind. I stood before the studio's floor-to-ceiling window, gripping a fancy gold-stamped invitation incredibly tightly in my hand. You and I both know this is huge, laymen. The top jewelry brand invited me as their art director. Jessica pushed the door open, bringing 2 hot coffees. Seeing me distracted, she gently asked. Still hesitating, I finally replied. I found myself subconsciously tearing up the invitation. I swore I would never return. Jessica handed me coffee, its comforting warmth pressing against my palm. Afraid of seeing her, I stayed silent for a second, then suddenly laughed. No, I simply shook my head. I am just thinking, what exactly am I so afraid of? Outside, a sycamore leaf blew up in the wind, curled perfectly, and landed right on the windowsill. I looked up again, my eyes completely filled with determination. I cannot wait my whole life. When the plane finally landed in that familiar city, I felt totally dazed. 3 long years had already passed. The airport looked the same, but my mindset had undergone an absolutely earth-shattering change. Mr. Tom Jane's assistant warmly stepped forward to greet me. Welcome back, General Manager Mike specially told me to take you to the hotel to rest up first. We will discuss all the cooperation details tomorrow. Smiling and nodding, I followed the assistant toward the parking lot. City scenery flashed backward outside the car window, high-rise buildings occasionally mixing with deeply familiar signboards. This exact place used to contain all my love. When Clara heard the shocking news that I had returned, she was in a meeting. Her assistant hurriedly pushed the door open, bent down, and frantically whispered in her ear, "That is where we leave it." Her eyes went completely wide. The pen dropped with a click, splattering ink across the document. "Are you sure it is him?" Her voice sounded terrifying. "All right, stick with me because you and I are about to witness some intense drama." The assistant nodded. The VIP car arrived right outside today. Clara suddenly jumped up. The entire conference room went completely silent. The meeting was over. She dropped those words and dashed out. Clara drove incredibly fast. She finally stopped right in front of the massive Vun Corporation building. She barely opened her car door when she spotted a very familiar figure stepping right out of the revolving glass doors. It was me. I wore a crisp white suit that perfectly highlighted my broad shoulders and narrow waist. I looked incredibly tall, elegant, and perfectly calm. Clara started breathing heavily, ready to step forward, but another figure suddenly blocked her path. The eyes of the two women met in midair. The atmosphere instantly became tense like a drawn sword. Clara glared with pure, freezing anger. Jessica stood perfectly still. She refused to back down from Clara today. A sudden trace of deep red anger surged violently in her eyes. "Who do you think you are? Do you even deserve to speak right now?" Jessica laughed coldly. "And who exactly are you? Someone who hurt him so deeply in the past. What right do you have to appear before him?" Those words hit like a sharp blade, stabbing right into her heart. Clara clenched her fists until they shook but could not reply. Over in the distance, I finally seemed to notice the commotion and turned my head around. Clara gasped instantly. I was looking right at her, but in the very next second, my gaze calmly shifted away as if I did not care. She was just an unimportant stranger on the street. I simply bent down, got into the vehicle, and the black luxury car slowly drove away. Clara stood frozen in place, feeling her entire body turning completely cold. I genuinely did not even want to hate her anymore. "I know what you are thinking." Jessica pulled her back to reality, demanding she stop bothering him if she had any conscience left. Clara looked right at her with red eyes, asking if she was his new lover. Jessica replied lightly that who she was did not matter. What matters is that he is living very well now. In all these days without you, he finally learned to truly love himself. Clara sighed heavily, standing completely alone in the apartment complex where I used to live. The third-floor window was pitch black. There were absolutely no lights shining for her. She searched around for her cigarettes but realized her hands were trembling so much she could not even open the lighter. Finally, she leaned against the wall in total despair. She looked up at that dark window, whispering my name. The night breeze carried it away. Later, Clara stood inside a hotel lobby. Her fingertips clenched tightly until turning pale. For 3 days, she acted completely crazy, sending people to search everywhere for my exact whereabouts. She finally learned I would attend a private banquet tonight. She honestly did not know what she wanted. Perhaps she just could not accept it, or maybe she could not handle me disappearing from her life. The luxury elevator chimed and opened. I held Jessica tight and walked out. I wore a stunning dark suit with a diamond brooch sparkling brightly under the lights. The corners of my lips held a faint, handsome yet distant smile. Clara felt her heart aching. She took a deep breath and stepped forward. My footsteps halted immediately. I slowly turned my head, looking right at Clara. A strange emotion flashed in my eyes before I recovered perfect calmness. "Boss Clara." I nodded slightly toward her. My tone was cold, like a business partner. Clara felt choked up. She instinctively stepped forward and quickly reached her hand out. Jessica frowned, taking a quick step forward to block her. I gently patted her hand and asked if she could head to the car first. Jessica wanted to speak but stopped when she saw my determined look. She finally nodded and left. "Watch closely here." An intense silence spread across the street before Clara finally spoke with a hoarse voice. She said she needed to tell me something. I looked at her silently with a gaze calm as a lake. I simply said, "Speak." Clara felt her fingertips trembling. She had imagined this reunion scene countless times, but standing right in front of me, she had no idea where to start. "I am sorry," she finally whispered. Her voice carried a very heavy sob. "About the ancestral Sohal, the birthday, and the divorce. For absolutely everything I wronged you." Her knees slammed heavily onto the marble floor, begging for forgiveness. Countless eyes turned to watch the incredible downfall of the high and mighty manager. Right now, she was kneeling in front of a man looking completely pathetic. I lowered my eyes to look at her, but my gaze never wavered. I softly told Clara that some things can never be salvaged by mere regret. Clara looked up with red eyes, asking if we really had no possibility anymore. Her voice trembled as if desperately grasping for a last lifeline. The absolute last lifeline. I silently stared right at her and laughed. That smile was extremely faint, but it caused Clara piercing pain. In my eyes, she could not find even a single hint of lingering attachment. My future excluded her. She grabbed my wrist, begging for one last chance. "Trust me, you and I are witnessing the ultimate payback right now. Just once." I stopped right there, not fighting or looking back. "You know what?" I whispered. "Let us dive in. I genuinely believed giving you all my love would finally make you look my way." Then I understood. I pulled my hand back slowly. "Love is not like that." Clara dropped to her knees, watching me walk away. Her fingertips could still feel the lingering warmth from my wrist, but inside her heart turned absolutely freezing cold. Meanwhile, Jessica and I stepped into the car. The second I leaned in, a single autumn leaf fluttered down onto the glass window. Clara suddenly recalled so many memories from our past. I used to be a playful kid sneaking snacks into her desk. When caught, I blushed and said, "Who cares about you anyway? I just worried you would go hungry because who would argue with me? If only time could rewind, if she had recognized her own heart clearly so much sooner." But sadly, in this reality, there are absolutely no second chances. The black car slowly drove away, entirely vanishing into the rainy autumn night. Meanwhile, David huddled alone inside a terribly cheap motel. His phone screen brightly illuminated his completely exhausted face. Several breaking news notifications suddenly popped up. The Yang Corporation goes completely bankrupt, billions in debt. David's father gets arrested for commercial fraud. Now pay attention here, facing over 10 years in prison. David aggressively slammed his phone down onto the bed, the screen loudly shattering everywhere. That loud cracking sound echoed everywhere. He hugged his knees, completely devastated. His fancy silk pajamas looked super wrinkled, a $1 million diamond bracelet on his wrist. Just 3 months ago, he was the rich young master everyone worshipped. But look at him now, barely able to pay hotel rent. Early the very next morning, David stood before the mirror, using his absolute last bits of makeup to carefully hide his totally exhausted, pale face. He desperately needed to see Clara, the woman who always followed his every single command. The girl who happily tossed fortunes away like literal trash for him, hoping she might just go soft again. Then he could flip his fate. Rocking a sharp suit, literally the only nice one he still owned, he laced his shoes and headed straight down to the massive Clara Corporation building. The security guard spotted him, instantly frowned, and blocked the way. "Sorry, Mr. Yang boss. Clara ordered 0 visitors today." David just forced a smile. "Tell her I have crucial information regarding Tom." The security guard hesitated for a second, but finally pressed the intercom button. Just 5 minutes later, David was escorted right upstairs. Up on the top floor, Clara stood facing the massive ceiling window, her posture totally arrogant and icy. Hearing the door open, she completely ignored it. David opened his mouth to speak, but choked up instantly. "I was so wrong. I truly know I messed up." He desperately lunged forward, trying to grab her sleeve, but she smoothly sidestepped away. "What did you claim to know about Tom?" Her voice was freezing cold. David totally collapsed onto the ground, staring up at her while bawling his eyes out. "I really did not do those terrible things willingly. People forced me. Clara, believe me, I have only ever loved you." Clara slowly turned around, glaring down at him like a total queen. Her fierce gaze made him shake uncontrollably. There was 0 gentleness left in those eyes, only pure disgust. Then she laughed. "You and I both know exactly what happens next. David, seeing you pathetic like this makes me completely sick." "No, it is totally not like that." He frantically shook his head. "It was Tom. He definitely slandered my name to you." "Clara, did you forget what we had?" Clara suddenly snatched his chin super hard. "Do you even deserve to mention his name?" She pulled a stack of photos from her drawer, slamming them violently right into his face. Pictures scattered absolutely everywhere. They were all intimate pictures of him with various women. Different girls spanning across several years. "Were you magically forced to do all this trash too?" Clara's incredibly piercing stare locked onto him, making his entire body shake violently. After that brutal night, David completely spiraled into absolute ruin. Out of options, he entered a shady underground bar. Under the dim lights, the strict female boss judged him harshly. "Have you ever worked this kind of job before?" David squeezed his shirt nails, digging painfully into his hands. "No." The boss just smirked, tossing a super revealing mesh outfit right at his face. "Change into this immediately. You start entertaining clients tonight." Shaking uncontrollably, David grabbed the embarrassing outfit and stumbled toward the dressing room. In the mirror, he saw his extremely pale face. His former refinement vanished, leaving huge dark circles right under his eyes. By 3 a.m., trapped inside a super smoky private lounge, David sat uncomfortably while a chubby older lady aggressively hugged him. Reeking of cheap liquor, the woman squeezed him tight, sloppily, kissing all over his neck. "So I heard you used to be some incredibly rich, arrogant young master." Flashing a creepy smile, her hand slid onto his thigh. "Speak up already. Exactly how much cash buys you for the whole night?" Swallowing his absolute disgust, David forced a polite smile. "Boss Wang is just joking around." But her expression instantly darkened. She slapped his face so hard playing coy, "Well, you and I just witnessed perfect karma. Let's jump into a wild mystery. This arrogant guy David just got slapped so hard his head spun. He sat bruised in a shadowy corner, totally unseen by anyone. His gaze turned completely blank. If Clara had not chased him down so relentlessly, how did he fall into this massive mess? Meanwhile, inside Clara Corporation, the massive conference room was completely silent. The gathered shareholders looked absolutely furious. They angrily crushed the documents in their hands. That final financial report proved the entire company had just lost a staggering 37% overall. If this kept up, total ruin was guaranteed. Clara just leaned back in her expensive chair, staring at the ceiling with total indifference. She looked as if they were discussing some random stranger's company. The entire room instantly exploded in anger. "Are you crazy? This is your grandfather's legacy." "Clara, you are throwing away everything for just one guy." Clara slowly stood up, smoothing her baggy dress. She completely lacked her usual glamorous shine. Without saying a single word or even bothering to shout back, she simply walked right out of the room. A heavy glass shattered loudly on the floor behind her. She ignored all their angry shouts. Her entire world had already faded into total silence. Watch closely now. Clara drove completely alone to the riverbank, leaving her windows wide open. The freezing wind rushed inside, blowing her hair into an absolute mess. Sitting right there on the passenger seat was a brown paper bag holding all my recent designs. Every single copy was there. From Paris Fashion Week to the local jewelry workshops, absolutely nothing had been left out. She nervously touched the printed photos. In every single picture, I smiled so handsomely. During those days without her, I clearly lived incredibly well. Clara quickly grabbed her phone, freezing right on the main page of my social media account. That newest post went up 3 days ago. The Grand Rebirth series is finally launching. A massive thank you to everyone who genuinely supports me. The attached picture showed a sweet shot of Jessica and me. We were standing by the river, our fingers happily linked together. Clara's sight blurred. She slowly pressed down on the accelerator. The glowing needle kept spinning. That river surface sparkled brightly under the moonlight, looking exactly like the shattered crystals on her ruined wedding dress. "Tom," she softly whispered my name, completely letting go of the heavy steering wheel. If only another life exists. Suddenly, the black car launched out just like an arrow, diving straight into the icy, rushing river. Here is the massive breaking news from early this morning. A dark car plunged into the Lan River. Major recovery operations are underway. Based on the recovered license plates, officials strongly suspect the vehicle's owner is the general manager of Clara Corporation. Meanwhile, Clara was secretly hidden in a dark basement across the city. David stared intensely at the phone news, suddenly letting out a totally wild laugh. "Gone! She is really gone forever, ha!" He laughed until tears blurred his vision completely. On the table rested a sharp dagger that had never been used. He never even got the chance to defeat her himself. It did not matter anymore. In the very end, she still completely vanished. David quickly grabbed a bottle to celebrate, but ended up coughing violently. Meanwhile, the lead investigator silently reviewed the final incident report with a deep, concerned frown on his face. The car's brake line was sliced perfectly. Definitely intentional sabotage. "You guys saw this coming, right?" The expert pointed. "This was total sabotage, no tragic accident." Security cameras quickly tracked the suspect. 3 days before the crash, David showed up inside the very garage that Clara always used. Wearing a dark cap and holding a heavy tool bag, he lingered near her car forever. Suddenly, the police kicked down the door to his basement. David was laughing hysterically at the financial broadcast on TV. The bright screen was announcing the absolute ruin and bankruptcy of Clara Corporation. "Total liquidation news, you guys arrived perfectly on time." He wildly waved the knife. "Hey, watch me rip up this picture of Clara." Hundreds of creepy magazine cutouts were scattered all over his messy bed. Every photo was pierced with holes. Later in court, David wore an orange prison uniform. Beneath his fingernails sat traces of dark brake fluid. "I originally meant to finish it myself," he whispered, tilting his head with a creepy smile. Such a pity she faded so fast. When the judge finally read the verdict, the spectator seats were completely empty. All the greedy relatives who flattered Clara's family and the rich kids who worshipped David. Right now, they had all completely vanished without a trace. The judge's heavy gavel fell. David unexpectedly lunged toward the railing, shouting, "Tom, tell him to come see me," letting myself look foolish. Only the silent police officers answered his angry outburst. This punishment is definitely happening. The cooling unit in the hospital basement buzzed with a haunting, broken mechanical sound. The tired staff called the old Clara family estate for the third time. Finally, a distant relative answered, "Just handle her belongings however you want." That was the ultimate final notice for the Clara family. This number is entirely disconnected. It was sent to my Paris home, guarded by Jessica, and eventually returned on the absolute last day of my recovery. It was softly drizzling that day. The memorial intern slowly pushed the cart down the long, quiet corridor. Beneath the white sheet, a pale hand showed. "What a wild story we just watched, right?" The intern whispered to Lo. "I heard she was once super powerful. Stick with me here. You are about to witness letting go because no matter your power, everything fades away eventually." The peaceful Venko Eco Memorial Park sat quietly on a suburban mountain. Workers gently released the remains into the valley wind. 3 months after Paris Fashion Week, my absolute masterpiece, the Nirvana collection, finally made its epic grand finale debut. The model on the main stage rocked a fiery red dress. Suddenly, a gorgeous embroidered phoenix appeared on the skirt, spreading its wings to fly. As the amazing show wrapped up, the entire crowd jumped up and cheered wildly for us. Backstage, Jessica carefully pinned a shiny brooch on me. It was half a golden butterfly. "I have the other half," she smiled. "Only when we are together is life truly complete." The sycamore trees along the scene stirred up deep emotions. Bright sunlight filtered right through the leaves, casting cool zebra-striped shadows across the stone path. I stood on the studio stage, gripping a hot cup of tea, just staring out at the sparkling silver river water. Familiar footsteps approached from behind. A warm cashmere scarf was gently wrapped around my shoulders. "What are you thinking about?" Jessica was standing right there. Her voice felt exactly like a gentle spring breeze. I turned to look at her. Golden sunlight perfectly highlighted her stunning, deep features. Her beautiful eyes, always hiding a playful little smile, were staring intently right into my soul. "I was just remembering our very first meeting. You asked me what inspired that wild red dress." Jessica just raised an eyebrow and chuckled. I casually looked out toward the distant Eiffel Tower. "You and I both saw this coming, right?" Looking back, I already knew. Suddenly, Jessica pulled out a velvet box with a sparkling diamond ring inside. "Mr. Tom," she whispered sweetly, "I am terrible with fancy speeches, but I want to spend my entire life proving my true love. Your future deserves to be treated with pure tenderness every second." A soft breeze fluttered right through my long hair. The diamonds on the ring flashed brilliantly. It turns out true happiness never needs to be super loud. It just takes the perfect person and a totally sincere heart. I reached out my hand as happy tears hit the diamond. "Okay." Our lovely wedding happened on a beautiful hill without any crazy flashy stuff. Just our closest friends. I wore a custom suit I designed myself. The jacket tails featured beautifully embroidered golden butterflies. They looked like they wanted to spread their wings and fly into the bright, warm sun. Jessica stood beautifully under a tall tree. A fresh green leaf landed on her shoulder. "Now watch closely." Jessica was shaking so badly she almost dropped the rings. The whole crowd laughed happily. I gently kissed her lips to calm her down. "Miss Jessica." I playfully blinked at her. "The rest of our lives is long. You have plenty of time to get totally used to it." A stray leaf blew over and perfectly landed on our marriage certificate, sealing our destiny and confirming this amazing fresh start. Late one night, while grinding through overtime, I totally crashed on my design desk. When I finally woke up, I found a warm, cozy blanket that Jessica had draped over me. She sat right across from me, listening to the late-night quiet. Her eyes behind those glasses held a super gentle smile. "You are awake. Let us head home." I rubbed my tired eyes, then suddenly grabbed a pencil and started sketching super fast. Seconds later, a brand new dress design popped onto the paper. The collar featured a crazy, unique half-koi fish beautifully embroidered. "Your awesome birthday gift." I smiled big and slid the drawing over. "The matching half hits your runway show tomorrow night." Jessica just stared at me, then rushed around the desk, scooped me right up, and spun me around through all my scattered sketches. "My genius designer." She pressed her forehead against mine and looked down. "Is this you proudly declaring ownership to the entire world?" Outside our private yacht window, the river waves made the absolute most beautiful splashing sounds. So what do we take away? This perfect moment totally makes up for all the struggles of my past life.